button. There it goes. All right. Hi, everybody. Like Faith said, I'm Heather Thompson, the Director of Education Abroad here at UT Austin. And this has just been such an exciting semester. We did a live Facebook Live, Faith and I, a couple of weeks ago. Maybe some of you watched that, and that was just amazingly fun. My first time doing Facebook Live. But this is more my comfort zone, doing a standard webinar presentation. I'll do my best to make it engaging and fun. I'm not going to make y'all go into breakout rooms or anything like that. So just chill back, listen, take notes, browse our website while I'm talking. That's a great way to engage as well. It doesn't bother me at all. Of course, I can't see you all, and I'm going to go into presentation mode here in just a minute, so I won't be able to see you for sure. But we'll do probably about 20-25 minutes worth of a presentation, and then I'll stop and take questions. I'm working off of one screen at my home office, so when I hit presentation mode, I'm going to be blind for a little bit for the chat. So we'll let the chat go, and once I'm done with the basic presentation, then I'll go back to the chat and see what questions were posed that I might have missed. Okay, so we'll use that as our strategy today. Do feel free to post in the chat. But I am going to go through the standard information first and see if it answers most of your questions. Then after that, we're going to pop over to the website for a few minutes and show you all some important information and some cool tips and tricks about how to use our website effectively so that you can further explore the opportunities that are available to you by the university. All right. Okay, so with that, let me share screen. Share. Let's hope share screen is going to work today. Share screen and put this in presentation mode. Faith, can you verbally tell me if you can see my screen?
Yep, we can see it perfectly.
Great. Okay, so first, actually, I'll let somebody turn off their mic and tell me, anybody recognize this location that's on the screen, the first picture? You could put it in chat. I might be able to see the chat. Anybody recognize it? Oh, chat, let's see what someone's telling me. Oh, come back, little shared screen. Oh, I can't read it. Whoever put something in chat, say it verbally, because I can't see my chat anymore. It went away.
They can't speak up, but someone in the chat said Mexico City.
Mexico City. Thank you, Faith. That is exactly right. Mexico City. So absolutely, I love this picture. It's one of the Central Plaza in Mexico City, and it just shows you how, there, my chat came back. It just shows you how absolutely, I always think of it as kind of unexpected Mexico City is. You think of it as being a historic world city, but also at the same time, very modern, very engaging. You could see from the architecture and things. So I start with this picture when I do presentations because I think it really makes people see something that they may not have been expecting. You might have been expecting a different type of architecture or fewer people on the street. You might not even realize that Mexico City is one of the largest cities in the world, rivaling, that's hard to say, London and Paris. And a lot of people don't think of it in that context, but it is. It's a very modern, very dynamic megacity. So with that, just to kind of frame some concepts, maybe set aside some pre-existing concepts and start with kind of a fresh perspective. So let's move on into, let's see if this is going to let me go forward. So today we're going to talk about a few things, but you all are, to my understanding, and Faith is going to correct me if I'm wrong, all freshmen coming in for your first year on the 40 acres. And I always get asked by entering freshmen at freshman orientation, you know, why should I study abroad? Why is this so important to UT that students go abroad during their education? And for us, it really is, as educators and as mentors to you all, it is about your what's next. College is a step to something, right? You're trying to enter into a career field or into a graduate program, or even in some cases, a successful partnerships and friendships. Those are all part of your what next as well. And any chance that you get to go abroad that's either for an academic experience or personal or work or volunteer, is going to do all of these things you see on your screen. And the third one is one of my favorites, grow your intercultural competencies. And people are always like, Heather, that's too out there for me to think about intercultural competencies. But really what it comes down to is having empathy for other peoples of other cultures. And that intercultural competency, empathy is one of those. How do you work with people from a different environment? How do you work with people from a different background? Just as you all are having to work with people from Houston or from rural Texas, or maybe you have someone in your class that's 50 years old, a non-traditional age student, and you're having to learn how to work in a team environment with someone who's not like you. All of these things are amplified when you go abroad. In 1,000 different ways, things that you take for granted of, like how to make a telephone call. Well, it's not the same when you go abroad, right? All growing these competencies, your intercultural competencies, as well as other competencies that you might need for your professional, your professional life after college. It's also a great time to, one of the last bullets on here is about networking. The people you meet the year you study abroad or the semester you study abroad are people that will stay in your lives forever, because those people have a shared common experience with you. Just as many of you will stay friends with the people you met this year in your classes for the rest of your lives because of that shared common experience. Now, not all of them. There are some people I met when I went abroad for the first time at 18 that I want nothing to do with now, don't get me wrong, but there are many of them that I still talk to quite regularly and have been to their houses and have gone back abroad together later in other years. So it is about building that network, whether it's professional or personal. Then the other thing we see with freshmen is that sometimes going abroad can help you have clarity on your future. We actually like to send undeclared students abroad because it's a chance to explore something with no risk. Say you can't get into the business school at UT or you haven't been admitted to it yet, but you want to go abroad and take a foundational business course. Well, our foreign partners don't care that you're not admitted to Macombs yet. So you can take a business course or a finance one course. Or maybe you think you might want to be in advertising and you want to explore the field, then we can send you abroad to do that, whereas you might not be able to get into an advertising course yet at UT. So it is a great way to explore and to, again, gain clarity on your interests. It's also a way to really test out your skills, especially if you go abroad on one of our international internships. And a lot of students like to go abroad on our internships their sophomore year so that they can be prepared for maybe a domestic internship their junior year, or to set themselves apart for a domestic internship later. So all of those ways that you can set yourself apart and continue to explore, you know, what your life might look like in 4 years. We like to mention to students, especially early on, that sometimes you won't have anybody in your immediate network who has ever studied abroad, who has ever even been outside of Austin, Texas, or Texas proper for that matter. But I like to make sure that everybody knows that you're not alone. You are one of thousands and thousands of students who go abroad every year. Prior to COVID, now COVID's changing a little bit, and I'll tell you some more about that in a minute, but prior to COVID, this year we were supposed to send 4,500 students abroad a year. That's a lot. That's bigger than the College of Education. It's bigger than Moody College of Com. I mean, it's a lot of students, and we have a lot of programs for you to pick from. I'm going to go over some of those today, so you'll get a taste of what the types of programs are that we offer. Many of you will be familiar with simple types of programs like faculty-led programs, but I'm going to talk a little bit more about exchanges and affiliates here in a minute. And then, of course, we do offer internships and service learning and research opportunities. But just because, I want to remind you, just because you're the only one maybe in your friend group who's talking about studying abroad, by no means will you be the only one. And you'll develop a new set of friends when you go abroad in many cases, if you are, depending on where you go and what type of program you pick to go on. Okay, this is a chart, and I'm going to show you a little bit of this on the website in just a minute. But this is a chart showing you the 3 primary categories of programs. So, and then descriptors on the left. I'm actually going to start with the simplest example, which is faculty-led, which is on your far right. So a faculty-led program is exactly what you think it is. It's a faculty member at UT taking a group of students abroad to a particular place to study a certain thing. Okay, so for example, 15 students go into central Costa Rica to study biology at a rainforest substation. Okay, that's a faculty-led program. 30 students go to London to study the history of social work. with some university lecturers and some service learning opportunities or some shadowship kind of opportunities in London. Those are all different types of faculty-led programs, okay? Faculty-led programs can happen during a semester, during a summer, or during what is known at UT as a Maymester, which is a 4-week program that happens mid-May to mid-June. All right? All right, it's the easiest one to understand. There are about 80 faculty-led programs a year. You'll have to check our website every year to see which ones are being offered. Some are offered in consecutive years and some are offered in non-consecutive years or every other year. All right, now I'm going to jump to the far left, exchange. This is the second easiest one to understand. This is the University of Texas and a foreign university swapping students. Okay, so I was talking, I think, with Lauren a minute ago about the University of Glasgow. Wonderful university, Research One University in the beautiful city of Glasgow, very modern, very large city up in the north. And we have a direct partnership with them. So instead of taking classes in Austin, we will send you to Glasgow and you will take classes there. It will be, in your mind, it will be a similar academic experience. You'll be in a classroom, you'll be in lectures, you'll have a faculty member, you'll have teaching assistants, you might be in labs doing research work. But the context for the learning is different because you're learning from a European perspective and you're learning alongside the local students in those classes and alongside other international students. We have about 130, I actually know the exact number, we have 138 direct partnerships like this all over the world, right? So you could, if you're fluent in Spanish, you might want to go to a university in Spain. If you have always wanted to go to the Middle East, but you don't speak any languages at all, then maybe you want to go to one of my favorite universities, which is in Istanbul, Boğaziçi University in Turkey. Okay, so just because it's in a foreign country for an exchange doesn't mean that it's going to be taught in the native language. Many universities around the world were formed by the British during periods of colonialization. That's even harder to say. I need to practice my pronunciation today. And so many of them are actually taught in English, especially in Asia. If you're going to go to Singapore or Korea, all the universities are taught in English. Your courses will all be in English. You don't need to know Korean in order to go, for example. Okay. All right. The third category is what we call an affiliated program. Affiliates are, think of it like this. It's another entity that UT works with to get you somewhere. It can be a for-profit or a nonprofit organization. It can be a small or a big organization. It can be for coursework. It could be for language learning. It could be for an internship. It's quite a hodgepodge. And so you'll see those on our websites in different ways. What a lot of UT students use affiliates for is language learning. If you're going to learn French or learn Italian or learn Spanish, more than likely, you're going to go with a third party, one of these affiliated organizations, to a language center somewhere in the world to learn the language. Okay, so that's the most common example of that. I'm not going to go over all of these different elements on the left, but you can just kind of peruse them. Once you actually start getting into the process and picking when you're going, your academic and your study abroad advisor will go over these different factors with you. Okay, the other reason I love talking to freshmen is because we need you all to start planning early. I've put up this picture of the passport today to be a planning early example because due to COVID, there has been a massive backlog of passports with the US Passport Agency. And so even if you don't want to go abroad until possibly next fall, you need to get your passport in line for your passport now. Okay, so passport offices are open. UT has a passport office on the main campus. You can go to the Education Abroad website and then search for passport, and you'll find the passport website and everything you need to go there. So please, please, please get in line early for your passport. If you're thinking about going abroad this summer or Maymester specifically, you should start working on your passport immediately. Okay. If you already have your passport, then do make sure you check to make sure it's going to be valid for when you're going abroad. The other thing about this planning, though, is that many of you will go abroad during your sophomore or junior year. Our statistics show that most students go abroad between their second semester of their sophomore year and first semester of their senior year. So that 2-year window. And that's not as far away as you think, right? That's like just a year away. So thinking about what you want to do and what courses you might want to take. It's time now, especially as you all are going through registration advising, as we get close to registration access period 1 for the spring term, to be raising your hand in your advising appointments with your academic advisors and saying, hey, I went to this session with Study Abroad last week, and I really think I want to make that happen. And they'll be like, okay, well, let's talk it out. Let's see where you want to go. What do you want to do? Where should we plan that in? And they'll work to make sure that it is a smooth transition into your degree plan. I'm under a mandate to make sure that you can study abroad within your 4 years, not in addition to your 4 years, but within it. So we're going to be working to make sure that we can get you the courses you need abroad, or the internship abroad that you need, that will just slide right in, just as if you never skipped a step here in Austin. All right. Now, some of the other elements of planning I want to bring to your attention as we go into more details, and as we flip out to the website in just a minute, have to do with being mindful of what your program selection means. Yes, of course, you're going to pick a program that meets your academic goals and your career goals. So I was a French major in undergrad. So of course I went to France and I took classes that were in French, grammar classes in French to further help my grammar, and then some courses for my minor. I had a sociology minor. Okay, perfect fit. However, what I didn't realize is that I had picked a location that was outside my financial means. When I originally started to go abroad, I was going to go to Paris. And I quickly realized that there was no way, I come from a very rural town in West Texas, that there was no way that I was going to be able to afford living in Paris for a semester. So I picked, in the end, a smaller city where I would have just as much opportunity to meet my 2 goals, but with more of a financial lens that was palpable for my bank account. So as you're thinking about where you want to go, do think about the financial side of it, because the 2 do go hand in hand. Just like while you're here in Austin, you can't go to school in Austin if you don't have a financial plan for living in Austin, right? So it does go together. I give students advice all the time about how to save cost savings. And one of the biggest things are the things I've put in checkbox number 3 here today, which is think about going someplace that is a little bit off the beaten path. They will be more cost effective, meaning don't go to Madrid or Barcelona, right? Those are expensive places in Spain. Maybe go to Sevilla or Santander instead, right? Anything like that. Let's do Japan, because a bunch of you wanted to go to Japan. Instead of living in Tokyo, why don't you pick to go to Iwate University, which is about an hour and a half to 2 hours outside of Tokyo. And then if you want to go into Tokyo for holidays or for weekends, you could. Same thing for London. Many people want to go to London. I wouldn't live in London to save my life. It is exhausting. It's such a large city. I find it exhausting every time I go, but I do love the theater. I do love the environment of the nightclubs and all those kinds of things when I was y'all's age. But you could go to Sussex or Bristol, which are both an hour and a half outside the city. Beautiful, again, not small towns, beautiful large towns where you could have a really deep academic experience and then go into the city as necessary. Okay. All right. So do think about that as you're going through the planning phase, about where you're going and what you're picking and how it fits into both your academic and your financial needs. 5 are 2 search engines that help you pick your program. Oh, my internet is unstable. I will give it just a minute. Faith, tell me if I freeze. The picture on the left is of our program search engine, and the picture on the right is of our credit search engine. And again, I'll do a live demonstration of those in just a few minutes, but just so you know that those are the 2 tools you're going to be using to help find a program that meets your needs. Okay, once you do that, let's say you've picked a program. I want to talk a little bit about financial planning, a little bit further into that. This is an example of what costs might look like. So say, for example, that, well, let's just start off with the reality. It's costing you all about $15,000 to live in Austin, Texas and go to school. Now, if you are living at home right now because of COVID or some other unique situation, then that's not the case. But Traditionally, if you lived in Austin, were going to campus every day for classes, eating at McDonald's on your way to class, average price for a student is around $15,000, okay, for a long semester, fall or spring. When you start looking at a study abroad program, the costs are very similar. On some programs, you're going to continue to pay tuition, and then you might have a program cost of about $10,000. So they're very similar. Now, we have programs that span the range. You've got programs where you could go abroad full cost for $11,000 and actually save $3,000. And if you want to live in London, you're going to pay more like $19,000 because housing in London is expensive. So you're going to be on the plus $4,000 side. But there are a lot of programs for a semester that are within the $15,000 range. I'm talking to you all specifically about semester because, to be very, very honest, the way that your money works because of your being involved in this Dell program, the UT for Me program, your type of money is very specific, and it will be most impactful if you go abroad for a semester rather than going abroad for a summer, okay? This is a key point I want to get across to you all. I know a lot of students think, oh, I can only go abroad for summer because of my degree. I can refute that all day long for every major, even teachers, all day long. I can get you abroad for a semester, and I will. And you all, because of the way your money works, y'all should go abroad for a semester. I've listed a typical scholarship package that one of y'all would generally get. Almost everyone on this call today has a tuition grant or Texas grant. Everybody has a Pell. Everybody has their Dell Award. Y'all are generally the population of students who then would get 2 special study abroad scholarships, which is this $4,000 Gilman scholarship and the $1,200 IEFS scholarship. Now, those are competitive scholarships that you do have to apply for, but given the profile of the student on this call and the eligibility requirements for those scholarships, you all are going to be very, very likely to receive those funds. Okay, so I can't guarantee it 100%, but it's a pretty shoe-in. All right, now you can see then that with that amount of money and what an average semester might be, then your difference is about $3,000. Now, where's that going to come from? It might come from another scholarship. It might come from savings. You might pick a program that's less expensive. Like I said, maybe you pick a $12,000 program that's for a semester instead of 15. Okay, so it all comes out in the wash. If all else fails and you pick a more expensive program, then we will help you take out a loan. And those loans would be the type of loans that you would repay after college. Okay, so it would be a financial investment in your future that you would be taking out a small loan to cover the difference between what your scholarships are and what your cost of your semester abroad would be. Okay, now, if you all do decide to go on a summer program, just know that this scenario changes a little bit. And when you get to that point, your study abroad advisor will walk you through it, okay? But I just wanted to really make the point that for you all, maximizing your time abroad with the type of money you have, you are poised to be very successful on a semester-long program instead of a summer, okay? But again, it's all up to you. I'm going to skip this slide, but it's just to show that we do give a lot of money out in scholarships. I've only talked about a few, but there are even more, which is why I say that that $3,000 could be met from other scholarship opportunities. Okay, so then I've got a take action checklist on here because I knew Faith was going to circulate the presentation later. So we're going to talk about the 2 databases here in just a minute. I've already mentioned that you need to be in making a statement of intent to your academic advisor. Many academic advisors on the UT Austin campus are very familiar with study abroad. I do trainings for them. I talked to them. I was on a call this morning with 50 of them. So they're very engaged in study abroad. And if they don't know the answer, they'll reach out to us. Then at that point, you're going to start getting advised by someone on my team or one of the teams in business and engineering. Hopefully you're going to talk to your parents about your plans, or if not your parents, your support system, whatever that might be, friends, roommates, mentors. Make sure you're sharing. They're good to brainstorm off of. And if it is your parents or someone who's especially going to be contributing to your finances, it's never good to surprise them with this idea. Parents take a little bit of warming up to the idea, especially if it was a big deal in your family for you to move to Austin. If that was the case, then you getting on a plane is going to cause a little bit of a heart palpitation. But I promise you, we can help you walk through that with your parents. And I've never had a single parent ever come back to me and say, oh yeah, that was horrible. I should have never let my kid do that. Not a one, not a one. There are some parents that are a little trepidatious in the beginning, but not a single one ever sends me hate mail after the fact. And then we talked a little bit about making a financial plan. And that will be a part of your process as you move closer to picking a place to go. Okay. I do want to mention, because you all are spread across every college and school, there structurally at UT, there is a big education abroad office. Now, as you can tell, I'm actually sitting, this picture is of me sitting in my chair at my office. Our physical space, the main study abroad office, is located on 24th across from the Starbucks. God, I don't even know if the Starbucks is still there. I haven't been to campus in so long. Y'all have to tell me. And then there are 2 additional offices for support, one in engineering and one in McCombs. So if you're in Cockrell or in McCombs, you'll start with the study abroad advising teams in those colleges. If you're in any other college, or you want to do language acquisition. So if you're a business student and you want to learn Spanish, then you're going to come up to the main Texas Global Education Abroad office for help. Okay. If you ever get confused, don't worry, we'll redirect you if we need to get you in touch with the right person. But mainly just wanted to point out those 2 advising centers in Cockrell and McCombs. Okay, I want to talk for just a minute about COVID. I think it is really important for you all and for the rest of the campus to realize that we never as a university really stopped having people abroad. A lot of people know that we brought students home in the spring when it all started, but after we brought students home, then and things kind of settled down and we realized what was happening with COVID, we made a plan to make sure that we were being safe and ethical and responsible, and then started allowing faculty and researchers and students back into international locations. Another couple of 100, 300, 400 probably abroad in the spring. And then we're expecting large numbers again for summer and for Maymester. So with that, we have put up a COVID statement on our website if your parents are interested or if you would like to read it. We will be abiding by all the laws of the foreign governments. But I think it's just really important for you all to know that there is basically a story of resilience playing out, that many students are still engaging with the world very safely and very positively, both for research activities and for classroom activities. So don't let the fact that COVID is happening right now and is in the news every second of every day keep you from pursuing a dream that you've always had, because we can still help you do that even in these times. Okay, I'm going to pop out of my presentation. Pop out, full screen again. All right, let me see what kinds of questions have come in. Let me scroll back up. And
I can read through some of the questions for you. So
that would be great, Faith. Thank you.
Absolutely. So the first question is, would it be possible to go for a summer?
Yes, of course, it is possible for you all to go for a summer. I don't mean to allude otherwise, but your money will be slightly different if you go abroad for the summer. So we'll just need to check on your finances with you once you pick a program. And yes, we are open and full steam ahead for summer 2021. Most deadlines for summer are February 15th-ish. So, start going to information sessions now for sure. Getting engaged with the correct study abroad office before the end of January for sure.
Awesome. Another question is, would a Maymester count as a summer semester, or would that be considered as spring?
Maymesters are part of spring, so it's part of your spring course load. All right, so this coming spring, all students who want to go on a Maymester are going to be required to start off with a base, what we call a base of 12. You must have a regular UT course load, 12 hours, and then your Maymester will be on top of it. That's just in case your Maymester gets canceled because of COVID, so that you're not under enrolled and would be jeopardizing your enrollment status and your financial aid status. So just know that that will be the case for this coming spring. Start off with your base caseload and then add the Maymester on top. Okay?
And will financial aid cover the Maymester as well?
Yes, it will. Yes, it will.
Okay, awesome. Jaden asked a question of, are internships generally paid or unpaid?
Yes, that is a great question. Generally unpaid. So there, anybody want to be a tax attorney or labor law? This is a great way to get involved. So there are lots of laws in lots of countries about any kind of labor workforce. And generally an undergraduate college student from America going into a foreign country won't necessarily have the right to a paid internship. So it will be unpaid. In addition to that, some of the internships that we have also require you to pay a fee for the placement to be obtained. That is a very different concept than what you think of in the United States, with the fact that you might go to a resource fair at McCombs and you're going to get an internship in Dallas and they're going to pay you. It's a complete flip. Because it is not the easiest thing to obtain an internship in a foreign company as an undergrad student. So there are these organizations that UT partners with that are placement officers that are going to help place you in these internships, and there are fees associated with that. We have not put up yet the internship offerings for summer 21. That will be coming before Christmas. So if anybody is interested in those internships, look for that after Thanksgiving. Okay, our internship website will be updated.
Awesome. And I, excuse me, I imagine that they can review the website for all Maymester and spring deadlines and applications and things.
Yes, they can. Maymester deadlines are November 1 or November 15th. And then I said the summer deadlines. We've already passed the deadline for spring long semester. So then your next semester, if you want to go abroad for a long semester, would be March 1 for fall of 2021. But they all are on our website.
Awesome. Would you recommend study abroad for a student who has already traveled a lot?
I actually would. It's a very different experience to study or to intern abroad versus leisure travel. Just as I find, even for me now that I go abroad for business, it's very different when I go abroad for business than when I go abroad with my family on vacation. It's a completely different experience. And you learn different things from it. You learn the work cultures, you learn how to work in different working groups, you learn the style of communication in a way that you don't learn when you've just been there as a tourist. So I would recommend that you maybe go to a different place that you haven't been before, expand your horizons a bit. But even like me, I've been back to, again, one of my specialties is Southern France, and I have been back to a particular town in Southern France probably 6 or 7 times now in my life. But every time I've gone with a different intention. So I learn something new every time I go. So if you have a place that you love and you want to go back for school, then we can help you do that as well.
Awesome. We have a lot of questions coming in, so I'm working from the chat right now, and then I'll go to the Q&A. But the next question is, can first-year students study abroad in the spring? And then I guess maybe a two-parter is, when should they begin these conversations with their advisor that they want to study abroad during a Maymester or a semester?
Yep. So first year students can go abroad for spring. So like I said, though, the deadline for spring long semester, meaning January to June, has already passed. It was about 3 weeks ago. So we won't be taking any spring longs, but Maymesters, which are spring, those you have not missed the deadlines for yet. You have plenty of time to go to an information session and get your application together before early to mid-November. So yes, you can go abroad as a freshman. There's no problems with that. Many of the programs that are Maymesters or summer programs that the freshmen would be going on only require a 2.0 GPA, so you don't need to worry about having a really high GPA yet. We know that most freshmen haven't succeeded in that quite yet. So it should be, there are many classes that are Maymesters and summer classes that don't have prereqs. They're either freshman or sophomore level courses, or even upper division courses that just don't have prereqs. Histories, government, sociologies, those kinds of things, if you wanted to explore those. What was the other part to that question, Faith?
When should they begin talking with
With
your
your advisors.
advisors? Yeah.
Yeah, this is really the time. This, if you haven't had your appointment with your advisor yet for registration, I know not all colleges have mandatory pre-reg advising. If you have mandatory pre-reg advising, then this would be the time to bring it up. If you don't have mandatory pre-reg advising because you're perhaps in, not all liberal arts colleges have that, then you should still reach out to your academic advisor and say, hey, like I said, raise your hand and say, hey, I know I want to do this. If you don't know, this is another trick with freshmen. If you don't actually know who your academic advisor is, then that is what Faith is for, right? Faith can tell you, Paul, your advisor is so-and-so at the government department, for example. So if you're not completely sure who you're supposed to be reaching out to, just connect back with Faith or the UT for Me team, and they can get you connected to your correct academic advisor. Okay.
Yeah, Heather, that's absolutely correct. Any of the UT for Me program coordinators can assist you in that process. Myself, Paul, Sri Devi, or Alex, you all can visit the Canvas page to see who your program coordinator is, and you're welcome to email any of us in the process.
Yeah.
Another question for you, can you clarify if Texas Advanced Commitment covers tuition for study abroad?
So this is an interesting question that I too am waiting to see the answer to. The Texas Advanced Commission, that's the right word, commitment, is about helping you pay for tuition and basic costs of living. So the expectation right now is that if you went on a faculty-led program or an exchange program where you're paying tuition and your costs of living are about the same, we are anticipating that that advanced money is going to apply. Y'all are one of the first classes of these kids with the advanced money. So I don't have a lot of examples of cases where the money's been used yet, but from what I've been told from leadership, that will be the case. Now, remember that third column that was about affiliated programs? Those programs, you don't actually pay tuition to UT. You pay a fee and then a different pricing structure. That is where I'm not sure if the Texas Advanced money is going to apply yet. I'm waiting for an answer from leadership. Believe me, I will advocate until I'm blue in the face to get that money to apply, but I won't know for probably another semester whether or not that's going to be the case, just because the initiative is so new and they haven't worked through all the back end details on some of this. But do bring that up with your study abroad advisor, do bring it up with your academic advisor, and we will find the answer before you commit to whatever program you've picked.
Additionally, I'll say that UT for Me students do have access to their own specific financial aid advisors. And so if you want to, if you want to sit down and kind of talk through the costs associated with studying abroad, definitely check in. You can email UT for Me at austin.utexas.edu. And I'm sure one of our program coordinators is going to put that email address in the chat if you haven't gotten or received emails from us. But yeah, to our next question, I really like Raina's question because I know that this is something that my mother would probably flip out a little bit about. So Raina asks, do you have advice for warming your parents up to the idea of studying abroad?
Yes, absolutely. So your parents want you to first and foremost graduate in 4 years, right? That's what they budgeted for. That's what they're planning for. So secondly, they want to make sure that what you're getting out of college is a means to an end. That's those two things. It's that simple. And the third one actually is that you're safe and healthy while you're doing it, right? They want to love you. They want to keep you safe. They want to make sure you're going to get a job. And they want to make sure that that whole trajectory is going to work. So approach it from that lens, right? Approach it. I always say, don't use the word trip, travel, fun with your first conversation with your parents about study abroad. Use the tangibles. Mom, this is going to help me get better at French because I need to speak French for my career. Mom, I need to know how to do finance from a European context because finance is a global enterprise, right? Connect the dots for your parents in a way that matters to them. If they're worried about your health and safety and you know that, then start there. Mom, Ms. Thompson says there are kids abroad during COVID. They've been perfectly fine. We have 4,000 kids that go abroad a year. They say they have great insurance. They're going to help me if I get sick. Mom, I'm going to be good. I'm not going to be by myself. I'm telling you right now, there's not a single place in the world where you're going to be this one kid in the forest by yourself. That's not how it works. Even in parts of Africa, you're not by yourself, right? So I think that's what parents think, though, is that somehow you're going to be this kind of lone warrior in London with no resources. I'm like, it's London. You're like, there's a CVS on every corner, just like there is in America, right? So it's kind of those things. So start there. Try to get a feel for what your parents are most concerned about, and then prepare the rationale on why that is going to be okay. Sometimes it's just as simple as saying, Mom, sometimes it is about the money. Mom, my money here is going to go with me. I'm going to pick a program that's within my means. It won't cause any more financial burden on the family. Okay, that's another really strong talking point with your parents. They're worried about the money as much as they might be worried about your health. All right, so just debunking some of those myths is always there. I am always available to talk to parents. I talk to parents every now and then. They actually don't call me that much, but I can always talk to parents, or you can email us and we'll help you create the sound bites that you need with your parents as you go forward, right?
Awesome. I think that's, really good advice. Kennedy asked the question of how would you suggest that they balance coursework while they are abroad?
Right. So the coursework while you're abroad is going to feel just like in Austin. So if you take 12 hours in Austin, you're going to take 12 hours abroad. You're going to be taking classes that are very similar to what you would have taken here, just with a little bit of a different lens. Or you might, I say that, but there are some students who go abroad to take courses that you can't get in Austin. And I always use the example of engineers. Maybe UT doesn't teach hydrology, but you want to work for a power plant someday, a water power plant, and UT isn't very deep in that knowledge. Well, maybe I'm going to send you someplace in the world that is a specialist on hydrology, and you're going to get that classwork and come back and use it as a technical elective for your engineering degree. So it's a little bit of both, but the coursework will feel actually very similar to UT. Now, we don't partner with third-rate universities, so it's not going to be it's not going to be a vacation. You're going to class, right? You're going to be learning in a different style. And those of you who have the language fluency may even be learning in a second or third language. Some of you will be doing half and half, 2 classes in English, 2 classes in Spanish, 2 classes in English, 2 classes in Turkish or Arabic, depending on what your language fluency might be. Or taking Spanish 1, and then all the rest of your classes in English. That's a very common scenario as well.
Awesome. I think this might be our last question for today, but when is the Gilman and I believe IEF scholarship due?
Yes. So the Gilman scholarship is every semester. You'll have to check the website because it depends on when you're going. The Gilman, some of you were on a presentation I did earlier. The Gilman is a special scholarship for Pell Grant students for study abroad. It's anywhere from $3,000 to $8,000 for anything from 4 weeks or more. So the Gilman deadline for Maymesters and for summer should be in February, mid-February. So sorry, I know I'm looking up and doing weird faces on Zoom because I'm thinking, but look at the Gilman website. I don't have them memorized. And then IEFS is 2 to 3 times a year, October 1, February 15th, and March 1. So just look at those deadlines, and you'll generally apply for your scholarships the semester before you're going abroad. Okay, so if you're going abroad next fall, you'll apply for scholarships in the spring. If you're going abroad in summer, you're going to apply for scholarships generally before February 15th, so on and so forth. Okay, I do want to flip Faith over to the internet for just a minute. Do I still have time to do that?
Yeah, you absolutely do. We got 2 other last questions, but go ahead and show us the information.
Okay, let me show you. I'm going to flip over. Let me screen share again. Okay, Faith, tell me when you can see my homepage.
We can see it.
Okay, great. My internet at my house has been slow today, so I don't take anything for granted. Okay, so if you're on Google, just search UT Education Abroad or UT Study Abroad, it'll come up. This is the main page for campus, all right? Big headers, find a program, find money, apply. okay? I do want to draw your attention. If you scroll, did they put it over here yet? No. If you scroll down, there is a gigantic events calendar. And I'm going to tell y'all, I am super stoked. They just told me this morning that we're going to do a live feed from a Shark Tank in Australia in like 2 weeks from one of our research partners in Australia. So I cannot wait to see. They're going to do a live Q&A from a Shark Tank, and we will put it on here as soon as the date and time has been set. But some of these are not nearly as fun as that, but there are lots and lots of events you can go to for different things that you want to explore. Just click on more events to see them all, okay? All right, but what I want to show you up here at the top are those 2 databases. So in Find a Program, click Search Programs, and it's going to take you to this screen. I'm going to do, let's just do France because I was using an example earlier. It's going to return a list of programs, okay? Can everybody see this? You can search for them. If they're open to everyone, then feel free to look at them. The ones that are marked BBA are just for Maccombs. The ones that are marked engineering are just for engineering. But otherwise, everybody else uses all these ones that say all, okay? When you open these, it's going to do weird on Zoom, so I'm not going to do it. But it opens up a little display page that gives you all the details of the who, what, where, when, and why, and how much it costs, okay? You can search this thing all day long. Let me do another one. Let's do no country, but let's do advertising. It's a huge list, 35 programs where you can go abroad to study advertising. And again, you don't necessarily have to be an advertising major to study advertising abroad. It's not necessarily correlated that way, okay? You can do a cross find. So if you know that you want to go to Argentina and study advertising, put in both of them, and then it narrows your search for you. Okay. This is my favorite one for that combination, by the way, in Buenos Aires. It's a great school. Okay, so that's the first search engine. All right, let me go back into, oh, different one. I do that every time. It takes me to a different page. Let me go back in. Okay, that's the search programs. The second one is we have created a pages for by major. Okay, see this one? When you go into here, look at your college, read the information that's provided there, but then there's this course database. We call it MICA for short, My Credit Abroad, MICA. When you go into it, you can search for classes. So this is the most common one. So I will do it just to show y'all. Spain 610. All right, you want to go to Spain and take Spanish 610, which is Spanish 2. Okay, it's going to pop up a list. What did I type wrong? Spain, Spanish. Oh, it needs a D. Sorry, forgot the D. If you don't get the numbers right, it won't find it for you. Okay, it's going to pop up a list of the places where you can take Spanish 610D, or you can just list the courses, and it's going to show you the places where students took Spanish 610D, and then you can click on the program name, and I know I just lost you, but it'll pop up the little description about the program. Okay, and you can follow it from there. So those 2 search engines, again, one's under by major and one's in start. Those are 2 of your best resources for finding a program that you're interested in. There is a third search engine in the scholarship section, but I'm not going to show that to you all today because the scholarships that are loaded right now are for spring. They haven't finished loading all the scholarships for Maymasters and Summers yet, but they will within the next couple of weeks. But there is a third database that will help you search for scholarships. Okay, so use our website, read the sections. I also want to point you down here to our blog. And I'm not a huge blogger, but we've got our students in country, kind of like on the ground roving reporters blogging for us this semester. And the stories are really interesting because of what they're going through with COVID. Some of the stories are exactly like America and some of them are not. And so read these, they're kind of inspiring. One of my staff members is actually working remotely from Prague right now and has been there for a couple of weeks, and she's been blogging also. So do look at the different things, but there are lots of really cool blog posts. The Swedish one is cool too, that you can read and maybe get some inspiration from. Okay. All right, we have just a few last minutes. Faith, is there anything else you wanted me to touch on or any other questions that have come in?
I think I'm going to combine one last question for you, and then I am going to, if it's okay with you, Heather, put your email in the chat so that students can reach out to you for other specific questions. Or
Faith,
is
put
there?
the education abroad at Austin one, the straight, not my personal, if you don't mind.
Okay, I can do that.
That'd be great.
So for the last question, it's more about maybe the student experience when in country. And so what free time will they have to interact with people and the culture during a typical Maymester?
Yeah.
Maybe you can talk about like just that the study abroad experience in general. And then the other question is what kinds of field trips and opportunities will students have where they take trains or flights to other countries, specifically in Europe, if they choose to study there?
Yeah, so on most programs, and let's start with the shortest programs, those are Maymesters. So on a Maymester, that's generally a 3 to 4 week program, you'll have at least one weekend off to do a trip on your own. Now, you don't have to go anywhere. We actually encourage students to stay in their host city and learn and explore your host city more, but you will have at least one free weekend. If you're abroad for a full summer or for a semester, you'll have multiple weekends to travel. Most places in Europe, especially, don't have class on Friday afternoons, so that you could take a train on Friday afternoon, have a Saturday, half a Sunday, come home Sunday in time for class on Monday. You do have to be mindful of that. There are attendance policies for study abroad programs because we don't want people taking Monday off every weekend because they're traveling. So don't do that. But you will have time to travel. If you go abroad during the semester, like we've been talking about, it's quite interesting culturally to think about. You know how we have spring break or maybe a week off at Thanksgiving? Europeans have October breaks and then huge Easter breaks, like 2 weeks sometimes for Easter, but their Easter breaks are actually at Easter, not like our spring break, which is not really tied to Easter anymore. So in those cases, you might actually have several weeks off in the middle of your term for travel, not just your weekends. And so you just have to look at the holiday schedule for the country that you're going to, especially countries that have a very strong religious foundation will have actually more religious holidays than you have in the United States. And religious holidays in most other countries are actually more like federal holidays in the United States where the whole country shuts down. So that's something to be mindful of. That's a cultural difference between the United States and elsewhere. As for field trips, we try to keep faculty-led programs cost effective. So you are not going to find a lot of extravagant trips. This is not travel tourism. We don't have any programs that hop cities, not for like as a strategy, right? So you're going to be going to a city, maybe taking a field trip out to another city for a day or two if you needed it, but otherwise you're going to have a home base that you'll be traveling from. But you will have plenty of time. But you might hear about your friends at other universities whose study abroad programs use more like a European vacation where you spend 2 weeks going to 12 different cities. We don't do that. If you want to do that, do it on your own. That's not the goal of what we're doing with your academics. So, but you'll have plenty of time. As to whether or not you're going to get to know the local people or interact with local people, that also has to do with the structure of your program. Some Maymesters have service learning opportunities where you might actually be doing community work and actually get to meet people on or in the city that you're being hosted by. Those of you that choose to go abroad for a semester, you will of course meet local people. You'll meet your neighbors, you'll meet the people at the grocery store, you'll meet people in clubs that you join. You'll meet people at the library, just like you would here in Austin. So it really just depends on where you're going and what you're doing. Many students like to take whatever is their passion in Austin with them. So I've had students, for example, that were on the rowing team in Austin, which is just a club, right? And they wanted to go to a place overseas where they knew they were going to be able to row. Okay, well, we can help you figure out where to go if you want to row. Maybe students are mountain bikers and they want to be part of a mountain biking club once they go abroad. Okay, we'll help you pick a location where you can join a mountain biking club, so on and so forth. So no horseback riding, no bungee jumping. That's my 2 words. But bicycle skiing, fine. Yeah. So the education abroad, your next step after this seminar really is a little bit of a research project. Go back and look at the checklist that I put in the PowerPoint, but really it's just to spend some time browsing our website, okay? Go back to it, fiddle around with it, you can't hurt it. Read the blogs, check out the finance sections. Next step after that, talk to your academic advisor. Next step after that is start the application process. And there are lots of events, how to apply sessions, info sessions about specific programs. So even though you've come to this event, which is like a mini presentation, you'll still want to go to a specific presentation about the program you're picking, whether it's a Maymester or an exchange program to Sweden. You'll still want to go to a supplemental session that's on our website for those, so you get the real details. Because I haven't gone a lot into course picking and all of that. And then we look forward to seeing you all again soon. We'll stay connected to Faith. If you all give her a bunch of feedback and we need to do another session in a couple of weeks or another one in the spring, then we'll be happy to do so. But otherwise, she put the office's email in the address. I would say make sure you're using the resources on the website before you email us, but we do have full-time staff that read that email address, and we'll get back to you as quickly as we can.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Heather. I feel like
Yeah.
this was a lot of good information for our students. And to our UT for Me students, please know that this video will be on our Canvas page along with Heather's presentation as well, so that you all can flip through. And I definitely empower you all to reach out, do the research, and then reach out. We would love to see our UT for Me students studying abroad, because it's a great opportunity that you don't want to miss.
Yeah.
Have a good day, everyone.
Thank
and
you
let us
so
know
much,
if you'll have
Faith.
questions.
Nice to talk to everybody.